Hi, I'm Sandy Zuniga, the founder of Colorado Springs Town Tidings. Be in the know, on the go for all things Colorado Springs, delivered right to your inbox. Now, today, in our local business spotlight, I am thrilled to welcome Desarae Marhofer, the founder and CEO of Beautiful You Skincare Academy. With three campuses across Colorado, one in Pueblo, one in Littleton, and one right here in Colorado Springs. Beautiful You isn't just another aesthetic school. It's revolutionizing skincare education with its boutique approach and entrepreneurial focus. As a licensed esthetician with over 19 years of experience who transformed her one-woman studio into a thriving beauty education brand, Desarae is passionate about empowering the next generation of skincare professionals through hands-on training, business mentorship, and creating a supportive community. Now let's dive into the story behind Colorado's premier aesthetic school with Desarae. Hi,
Hi,
Desarae.
Sandy. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I am so thrilled for this interview. The more I learn about you, the more excited and the more grateful I am that you are here and you're doing what you're doing. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Um, yeah, as you said, I am coming up on my 20th year as a licensed esthetician in Colorado. So I've been around here for a while and I've been in the industry and I've been through my ups and downs. But my story didn't start in aesthetics. It started with just an uncertain path. Sometimes we think right after high school, this is the path for me. Or maybe our parents kind of tell us, hey, college is the path for you. And back then in the 1999s, college was the path. And I just didn't really feel like a strong student in high school. I kind of struggled. I was about a C average student, and I just, the thought of college felt really daunting to me. And so, but I would have been a first generation college graduate. And so that was really important to my family. And I think that meant a lot to me to kind of try to fulfill that goal. And so I signed up for college at my local university. I am originally from Pueblo, Colorado, so that's my
Okay.
hometown. And so after high school, I I went the college path, not knowing exactly what I wanted to focus on, really just kind of trying to get some general studies done. And as you would know it, I struggled in college too. I think that for some reason I thought, oh, maybe college is going to be easier and maybe it'll just come to me a little easier. But unfortunately it didn't. And I just couldn't grasp some of these concepts in these classes. Like I have more of a creative mind now that we know, beauty industry, but back then that really kind of took a toll on my confidence. It really took a toll on my self-esteem, struggling through academics in college.
I can relate, just so you know.
Well, I think a lot of people can now, and now it's great because like it's not like it's a must do, right? You get to choose your own path. There's trades, there's, taking a gap year, but back then it was kind of like let's just go this path. And
It was
it
always like you went to elementary school, junior high, high school, and college. It was just that's what it was back then.
Yeah, that was the standard, that was the expectation. And I did do well enough to get into college, but I struggled through that first year. And Sandy, what was so hard about that year wasn't the fact that I was struggling, it was that I was kind of losing my identity. I was losing myself in that post high school graduate year, and I was lacking the self-esteem that maybe could have gotten me a little bit further along in college. And um, I think that I made choices that weren't really smart at that time. I got involved with a boy, as
Not
we
a
do,
boy.
as we do, when we you know, or learning, more about life and love and all of that. And
Well, that
uh,
was the expectation then too, is to also find your person and marry them and forever after that, that one person. My dad
yeah,
used to tease me when I hit puberty or, high school,
yeah,
was there she is, boys, 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 boys. It's always boys, boys, boys. So it was part of what we had to deal
yeah.
with.
I always had fun in high school. I loved, talking to different people. I never ever had a serious relationship. So this freshman year of college, I entered into my very first relationship, serious. And it did move very quickly. And I found myself attracted to this person that showed me a different lifestyle. He really highlighted a different way of living, freedom, entrepreneurial kind of energy, and was able to come and go as he pleased. And I think that was part of what fascinated me about a life living on your own terms. But there was a different side to him as well. And so I'm happy to share a little bit of that
I
background.
would I would love for you to share a little bit because this is part of what made you who you are. Yes, at that time we had our deep-seated thoughts about ourselves and how we looked at ourselves, but this was seems like a very pivotal part of your story, and I would love to hear it.
Yes, I'm happy to share. So, being involved with him, he really it discouraged me to go to college, and before I knew it, my life was changing, and it was moving into more of a controlled environment where we spent a lot of time together. And I just, within a matter of 6 months, I found myself in a very controlling and a manipulative relationship. And I had flunked out of college, so that was towards the end of the second semester. I just was at my very low point in my life, to where I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't feel smart. I didn't feel like I had a future with earning money or um, being impactful in any sort of way. And so my identity was tied to this girlfriend um, role. And I lived that role, and I ended up being a very vulnerable girlfriend, and I got myself involved with an abuser. And he did physically assault me when I after I turned 19 years old. I ended up being physically assaulted really badly, to where, you know, the the city just automatically put permanent restraining orders. I didn't even have to file for that. It was just
Wow.
one of the things that the abuse was so bad and the beating was so bad that they they arrested him for domestic violence, and they put these protections in place for me. And my life completely changed at that point, right? I was then broken up, not a girlfriend anymore. I was a domestic violence victim, and I was a college dropout.
Right.
And so that
Seemed
that
very low at that point.
that summer was really low, and I did turn to some things that I'm not proud of, alcohol abuse and different things that were just trying to numb the pain. But what ended up happening for me that that summer was that I ended up getting out of Pueblo, which I think was a good thing for me. I think I needed that independence. I needed to kind of see what it felt like to feel resilient and to feel some strength on my own. So I
Right.
moved to Fort Collins and went back to college, which I don't know why, but I wanted to give it one more go. This time it was a community college. So, I felt like I can do a little bit better in that environment. And I did for a while. And I loved my experience as a sophomore in a college town, experiencing, new relationships, new friendships, really getting a feel to what it feels like to be independent and on my own.
And I think
Uh,
sometimes when we do something like that, a lot of times when we go through tough things, or even when where we grew up, there's some deep-seated emotions and identity there. And it's hard to look from the outside to see who you might be if you weren't there. So when we remove ourselves, you get to kind of start over where nobody knows you and you don't have to be exactly that person. You now have the ability to be anybody you want because nobody's there who knows you. Everybody will judge, but they don't know you. So you get to start over.
And that's such a great point because it did feel like a reset. It did feel like like I hit the start over button and I got to really reinvent myself in a different way. I got to know myself a little bit deeper. But if you know anything about deep trauma and deep emotional wounds, they take a while to heal through. And I just don't think that at 19, 20, I knew what a healing journey looked like or what tools I needed or what steps I needed to take to move through the emotional trauma that I experienced and the physical trauma. So I did end up back with my abuser. And
Okay.
that's the hardest thing to look at looking back is, you know, you get away, you escape, and you have a fresh start, yet something subconsciously or something energetically pulls you back to that same environment that you maybe were comfortable in, or maybe that's all I knew. I resonated with it. And I did end up, you know, back with him. And this time was different, though. I didn't feel extremely threatened by my abuser, and I'm going to tell you why it felt different.
Okay.
This time, he wasn't a threat to me. He was getting sentenced to be incarcerated to federal prison.
Yep.
And so he was, you know, on his way to incarceration, and I didn't feel as though he would risk physical assault or another abusive beating. And so I became his support system. I became his confidant, his friend, and I was with him through that sentencing process and all the way up until he entered into the federal prison in Canyon City. And that to me was one of the most confusing times in my life because I completely lost myself and I just let myself go and I kind of just stepped into a new role of like, I need to be of service. I need to be a friend. It was empathy and sympathy that I was moving in, right? And at the own detriment of my self-love, my self-confidence, my self-worth. And so I became a prison girlfriend at 20 years old.
Wow.
And I flunked out of college. I moved back to my hometown in my parents' basement. And at that point, you talk about like everyone has their rock bottom.
Right.
That was mine. That was mine. At 20 years old, college dropout, prison girlfriend, no job, no real path, and
And that was the second time dropout.
second time dropout.
And how did your parents feel about this whole being supportive girlfriend? Was he going to prison for what he did to you or something different?
He was actually a drug dealer and he
Okay.
was being incarcerated for drug felony charges. And so there was a lot of shame that came with that being out in the public and me being associated with him and everyone kind of knew who I was associated with and whose girlfriend I was. And part of me was like, this is all I deserve. Like part of me was just like, okay, maybe this is my path. Maybe this is my life. This is all I know.
Right.
And so there was a lot of disappointment with my family. I'm sure friends, I'm sure teachers and mentors, you know, I'm sure they saw a different path for me, but I just couldn't see beyond what I knew and what I had experienced with this relationship. And so I ended up just looking forward to to the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday visits. And that's really what I did. I just visited him and I listened and I was supportive and encouraging. And it was no longer about me. And I
Right.
think that's where the hopelessness kind of came in, right? When you don't have any sort of desire. There was no desire in me. There was no possibility or hope or inspiration. I lost it all and I felt just worthless and hopeless. And I was like, okay, this is my life. And I did this. I did this for a couple months, right? I just
Okay.
would maybe party through the week and go and be a prison girlfriend on the weekends. And I couldn't see a future beyond that. But I am a woman of God and I am a woman of faith. And that's deeply rooted in my core belief system. And I always remember praying and asking God, like, if you have something for me, like I need you to work in my life. I need you to give me some clarity, some guidance. And I
Right.
just remember leaving church and feeling that crave to like want something different and something more. And I remember this visit and I tell my students this story because it's the moment that everything changed for me. It was a normal prison visit day. It was a Sunday. I'd go after church and I would just drive to the federal prison and um, normally I'd listen to music, but this time was a little bit different. I just wanted quiet and silence on my drive. And I can remember just looking around and seeing the leaves changing. It was the fall, and I can remember just like shedding of leaves um and it and the thought came to me like I need to shed something. I need a renewal
Right.
soon, you know? And I got very emotional on that drive, and I just remember crying out and begging the Lord to give me something, give me just any sort of guidance, hope, inspiration, download, anything, right?
Yes.
Like I'm just
Right.
grasping, like what am I here for?
Right.
Because at that point, I didn't know what I was here for. So I walk into the prison that day. It was a normal visit, and I, I walked in and I just remember like looking at the normal section that I'd go sit at, and there was actually a woman sitting with him, but I could only see her hair. And that was like a moment of like, oh man, maybe he has another prison girlfriend. Maybe now's my chance to break up and be gone. Because I mean, who's fighting over a prisoner at this point, right? It was just like, this is crazy. But as I got closer and closer, I did recognize her. And I hadn't seen her in about 2 years. And it was his mother. And we briefly had, conversations and we had a relationship, but not an empowering relationship. I don't remember her as someone that I would look up to or somebody that would give me guidance, hope, or inspiration. But this day was different. I sat down, and before I could ever get a word out to either of them, I remember she just looked me in the eye and she said, Desi, so nice to see you. She's like, what are you doing? What are you up to? What do you want to do with your life? And she said it in a way that felt very direct, very abrasive. Like, what am I going to do with my life? And I can just remember looking at her and breaking down and kind of the tears coming, welting up. And I said, this is what I do. I show up for your son. I come here every weekend. This is who I am. This is what I do.
Hmm.
And I stopped and I got very angry and I just felt that emotion. And then I kind of composed myself and she took a minute and she looked at me. And she just like looked directly at me in my eyes and she said, you should be an esthetician.
Really?
Yes. And that was the craziest moment because I didn't really know what that was. I never had that on my radar. And she looked at me and she said, someone that does facials and makeup and brows, I think you'd be really good at that. And for the first time in maybe 2 years, had I felt hope,
Right.
inspiration, possibility. And I just remember feeling like that fled through my veins. And I'm like, man, there's something for me. There's something actually out there.
Did you also, because that seemed like a very touching, even though it was direct, did you feel seen
I
with her?
did. I did feel seen with her, and I know that she knew what had happened, and maybe that was her way of planting a seed. But
Right,
what was so interesting about the whole thing is that's not what I heard. What I heard was, you deserve better. Go, leave him. Don't come back to this prison. That's what I heard. And I think about that all the time that like I borrowed her belief in me because clearly I didn't have belief in myself. And
right,
so that one planted seed changed my whole trajectory. It really did. I left the prison. I left with excitement for like, what is this esthetician world? Like, is it possible for me? Could I actually do this? And I went home and I searched and, I started to do research and I just realized like this is for me. Like I can see myself doing this. And it brought me so much excitement for what was possible. And when I tell that story to the students, they ask, was she someone you looked up to? Was she empowering? And I can honestly say that was not her. That was the voice of God speaking through her. That was a message that I prayed for
right,
because it was the download that I needed. It was the certainty that told me, okay, this life is not for you.
right,
This path you're not meant for this path. And so that was such a pivotal moment. And it's so crazy how we find our careers because most people just know what they want to do, or maybe their parents encourage them. But for me, it came from a prisoner's mother. Like,
right, right.
so I never went back to the prison. I met my husband a month later, started working a job, started feeling more worthy and deserving. And honestly, kind of like the rest is history when I think about how quickly things moved from that life to the new life. It was in weeks,
Wow,
weeks. Yeah, it was crazy. It was just so wild. And um, I give a lot of credit to my husband because he was my belief partner too, right? Like he was the one that was like, go do aesthetics. Like, heck yeah, go. Like, I can see you doing that. And he encouraged me and so he made me feel safe and supported. And I just I've just been loving that choice and that path ever since then. So it's been a long journey to get to where I am today, but
right,
that's
right.
that's just how it all came about.
And sometimes, not everybody, but a lot of us do have to come from the muck, from the mud, and get ourselves out somehow.
Um,
It doesn't matter, get ourselves by ourselves or other people, divine
yep.
intervention, any of that. But we pull ourselves, we're crawling and we're all muddy and we're like, okay. And then we get out and we go take a shower. And then we
Clean
go,
up. Yep.
yep, what's ahead of us? So
Mhm.
that is an inspiring story in many aspects. So thank you for sharing that part.
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And
Yeah.
now I can't wait to hear. So you were about at that time you said you were about 20, right?
Yeah, I did wait a couple of years because I did get
Okay.
married. I had Miranda, my daughter, and so I ended up going to school in 2005, which is
Okay.
how I'm coming up on my 20th year here. And that was
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. It just like it always was the seed, right? Like even though years went by, I never gave up on that desire to go become an esthetician. And so I did it. I went to school in Colorado Springs. At that time, we didn't have a school in Pueblo. So I made the commute for 9 months, got my education, obtained my license, and then I entered the field in 2005. And I've been actively working and growing and evolving since then. I speak to the students on how I've lived every role virtually. I was the employee, and then I was the solo esthetician, we call them. And then I was the employer where I hired and trained estheticians. And I did that for over a decade of my career. And that is where the inspiration of the school was birthed because I did see the gap. I saw the gap in education. I saw it in my own education, and then I saw it when I hired and trained
Right.
estheticians. Well, it was just like there was just a disconnect. They were lacking confidence. They were lacking basic skills. They were lacking communication and this entrepreneurial mindset, right? Of like sales and marketing and all these things that are so important to build a successful business. And I was doing it, and I was doing it really well. And I built and established an incredible clientele in a very short time. And then,
Wonderful.
of hired and trained dozens and dozens of Pueblo estheticians. And then Beautiful You Skincare Studio is where the initial business came from. It became a training hub. It became a stepping stone for licensed estheticians to learn, grow, and evolve into their own businesses. And so that was a really interesting journey. I mean, you talk about 10 years of just training and hiring, and it was a lot of painful moments. There was a lot of heartache for sure. I'm
Okay.
sure my fellow solo estheticians or salon owners can relate to the ups and downs of having a team and
Oh,
building
a
a
team.
culture.
Okay.
Yeah, at my peak, I had 10 employees.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a lot. And
So it
yeah,
basically there's a couple of different aspects. One is having your own business and being a solopreneur, basically, and getting and being wearing all the hats because there
all the
just
time.
isn't
Yeah,
there's isn't
the,
enough room enough of you to go around, but you have to keep going. And you have the marketing, but you also are doing services for people. You're making them feel and look pretty, and not just pretty, but beautiful from the inside and out. It's not
yeah,
just the surface.
no, but it was the mission. Beautiful You was about helping people to find that inner beauty.
Right.
And then, it radiates on the external beauty. And skincare was just a small fraction of what I was doing in the treatment room and how I was impacting lives
Right.
and transforming, you know, energy and the skin. And so what we created in Pueblo was the first skincare studio. And we really brought this idea that skincare is a necessity and not a luxury. We brought this model to my hometown, and it just really took off. And it really, I think timing and passion
Right.
all kind of collided for me. I was first to market. I was kind of, a trailblazer, I guess you'll
I
say.
love it.
It was just so fun and it was just so rewarding. But the day-to-day, struggles of retention, employee retention, and this desire that I saw clinicians wanting to become solo
Right.
created a really unsustainable business model for me. It was like they'd grow, 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 grow. We'd be at our peak, and then they would leave and take the clients would follow, right? Because
All right.
they
Yeah.
built relationships. And so I never felt like I could get out of the business. I never felt like I could truly step away and be a true CEO to where I can work on the business and not in the business.
Right.
And and that was like the turning point for me where I said, gosh, I want something that has a legacy, something that can live on, something that I could give to my daughter, something that is making an impact across, you know, multiple, cities now.
Right.
And so the passion became education for me. And that's when we opened up Beautiful You Skincare Academy, the first boutique aesthetic school in Pueblo, Colorado. And that happened in 2019. So yeah.
Wow. So is that your own business and not a franchise or anything, right?
Right. So I created Beautiful You Skincare
Wow.
Studio. And then it was the sister kind of branch to that, and it's a training facility for licensure for aesthetics. And yeah, we've created a business model and a structure that's different from big box beauty college because that's where I went. I
Right.
went big, you know, it's just different. Let's just say it's just completely different. And I knew
Right.
I wanted it to be different. I knew I wanted the education to be superior, to be an elevated experience that feels like you're working in a real spa clinic
Okay.
so that they can get firsthand experience to what it feels like to show up as a professional,
Right.
right? It's like you want this environment to create those habits and those standards before they ever enter the industry. And then the other cool part to it is we empower the entrepreneurial mindset. So we teach business, which is what most schools don't teach. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah,
So
they'll
they're
teach
learning
you the
all that.
hands-on, but not
Yeah.
how to run a business. And as you know, it's all encompassing and you can't be one without the other if you're a solopreneur. If you go and you're an employee, totally
Yeah.
different. You're
Totally
in
different.
there, you're doing the services and you go home. But when you are owning your own business, it's totally different.
I don't turn it off. Yeah, it's so different. And it's not for everyone. That's what I also realize is, our industry is really pushing that narrative and that mindset. And I absolutely empower it and I love it because it served me and it became such a rewarding and fulfilling path. But I also recognize that not everyone is built to become an entrepreneur. Not everyone has the emotional bandwidth or the mental or the capacity to hold all of it, right? You said all the hats. And I recognize like I'm built a little different. I have a large bandwidth to hold a lot. And that's my gift from God is that I'm able to scale and grow and create something meaningful that feels impactful for these students. It feels like they're actually getting value from their
Right.
education. Yeah.
So, what's the criteria? So, if somebody wants to be an esthetician, do they have to go and get their license first and then come to you?
So we do the training. We are approved through the state of Colorado through the Department of Education. So
Wow.
we're accredited just like CU Boulder. We are met to the same standards of compliance and all of that when it comes to the Board of Education. And so we follow the DORA guidelines for licensure, which is 600 hours in the state of Colorado. We actually do 613 hours because we wanted to include a little bit more business training in ours. So it's just an additional 600, it's an additional 13 hours on top of the 600. And so we offer that in a full-time and a part-time program for students. And this path is basically for people that just love the beauty industry or love the service industry. They're really wanting to do something that's fulfilling. Maybe they're burnt out in their corporate jobs, or maybe they're just needing a change, or they've been a stay-at-home mom for all these years. Now they're ready to do something that's meaningful. I think aesthetics is one of the most rewarding fields that, I mean, That's out there. Yeah, I do. I really do. I think it can be emotionally rewarding and financially rewarding. So,
Right.
yeah.
And we'll just preface this or go back to it a little bit. Being a mom, a stay-at-home mom, is meaningful.
Yes, yes, it
And
is. Absolutely.
and on
Yes.
top of that, empty nesters or they've got their own lives and you want to add something on top of your life or
Yeah.
to kind of fill in, now you've got this opportunity as well to add additional fulfillment to their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's that, okay, what's next for me, right? It's like this industry kind of gives back to us in a way because we are able to change lives, make people feel more secure in their skin and in their, just in everything. So I do think that it's predominantly female based, but we are seeing a huge shift. I've already had 3 males come through our program, and that is super cool to see that the industry is shifting and we're just seeing growth and we're seeing abundance in the industry. And I think there's so much room for new people to enter this field. And so we are the place, we do small cohorts. So we're not putting, 20 or 30 or 40 students out at a time. We're very intentional about our curriculum. And so no more than 10 to 12 at a time in each cohort. It's really hands-on focused. So that's the other thing is we really want them to be confident in their skills lab. And so we're open to the public, where some schools are actually closed to the public and they only can work student on student. We allow people just like you to come into our school and get a beautiful, relaxing treatment at an affordable price, a student service cost, and it's a win-win for the student and for the client. So,
And if you need some people for them to practice on and stuff, kind of
yes.
happen to know somebody who may have a following and a list that might be interested.
Absolutely. We need models. We need all the models we can get. Models are great. It's such a big part of Beautiful You Skincare Academy. It's empowering this idea that everyone deserves quality skincare.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be something that's so out of reach for people. I think that we used to feel like, oh, it's only for the luxurious, type
Right.
of treatment. Or it's only for the affluent people that can afford that. And really, with this day and age and with the quality of service that we provide in our academy, people are seeing amazing results with our students. They're feeling so good when they leave and they see transformation in their skin. So I would love to invite your audience to come be models. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of times it's free just because we need extra faces to work with.
Right. Right. And all different kinds. It's not
All
just
different,
one kind. The more exposure the students have to different uh, issues, the better.
yeah, the better. Yep. And that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to give them that real world experience to by the time they're actually licensed, they're they're confident, they're competent, right? They're ready to enter the workforce and they don't hesitate. They don't feel this like, well, I didn't learn that, or I don't know how to do a good brow wax, or I don't know how to do the great extractions for acne or work with mature skin. I think that they're getting a well-rounded education. And that's something that I've been just honing and developing over the last 6.5 years with our schools. So,
Love it.
yeah.
So when somebody's interested in being an esthetician, whether it is coming out of high school or the second act, retired and you're looking for something else, so they go ahead and go to your website
They can come
and
to our
and then they go ahead and enroll with you as opposed to another beauty school that is in the area.
Yeah, so typically we like to encourage student tours is what we call them.
Oh, good.
And so this is an opportunity for us to share our mission and vision and core values. The students have to align with our core values. And they have to be a good fit for us. And so we just got to make sure that it feels aligned, that they can meet the standards and the expectations. Because, like I said, it's a more elevated experience. There's a lot more intention involved in what we're doing here, curriculum wise. And so we bring them in for a tour. We explain everything that they're going to be learning, the time commitment, the schedule commitment, the academic commitment, and then the financial commitment, because we are a private school. It is an out-of-pocket expense. And then we give them a student facial, which is great because they get to experience from that perspective as a client talking to our student. And that's how confident we are, right? Because we're
Right.
putting students, like our students, they could say yay or nay, but like we're really confident that we're like, go get a facial, ask your question to our student, get that feedback. And if it feels aligned, then we go ahead and book an enrollment meeting with them and we get them signed up into our cohort. And we have start dates and we have graduation dates. So they're rolling every 16 weeks. Yeah, every 4 months.
Okay, so every 4 months you get a new batch in, and then you close it down. How many? You said 10 to 12.
10 to 12, yep,
Okay.
is the max.
And then you close it down, and then you focus on these people to nurture them, help them, give them the education, give them the nurturing they need, and the business experience and mindset and help. And so they're when they come out from you, they're well-rounded to be able to start their business, but they've already had experience in it as they were being educated.
Absolutely. The other really, really important aspect that I want to mention is that they get to build a clientele while they're in school.
Oh,
So we
wow.
have so much support with the community. We're for the locations that have been around for a while, we see so much support that when those clients come in, if they develop a relationship with that student, they are welcome to take them with them wherever they go. We don't hoard that information. We don't protect that information. We empower our students and we want them to be successful. So a lot of them leave with the clientele already built in, which is so cool. And
That
the
is
other really,
special. I mean,
it's so special because
Desiree, I
I don't
don't
know anybody else that
exactly.
really gives that information. It's like, you know what? You built the relationship, give them your number, give them your card, let them follow you on social media. We want to set them up for success. And so that's something that was different from my perspective of like school to getting out. They're one step ahead.
Yeah. And I mean, Desiree, I don't know any that do in any industry in general. It's always, nope, that's ours that you can't have. And so I don't think, you know, people really understand the not only how special, but how empowering and how much you are setting them up for success by coming into your program as opposed to, oh, I just showed you how to do a facial. Okay, bye, see you. You got your hours and now, you're gone. You're already allowing them to get clients and build their business as they're in school, which never happens. So,
I know.
oh my
The best.
gosh.
And we say it all the time, and we really truly mean it. Their success is our success, right? When they're successful, it directly reflects on us, and that is the impact I want to make. I want to put really competent, confident, successful estheticians out in the marketplace because what does that do? It raises the standard. It raises just the bar for aesthetics across Colorado. And so people already, there's employers that want to hire right out of school because they know the kind of quality esthetician we're putting out there too. So
Right.
it's just a beautiful, beautiful program. The other thing I really love about it that's different is it's structured. A lot of schools do revolving enrollments, meaning anyone can join in any day. They just drop in, and that creates a little bit of chaos and confusion. And it, frankly, in my opinion, it creates an insecurity for students because they don't really know where they belong. And so our cohorts are designed for 15 weeks so that these students build community, they stay together, they learn together, they're in the same environment together, and no one is dropping in and coming out. And it just creates this beautiful, we like to call it like a little sisterhood, like a little, like the bonding part, right?
Right.
Because they get so much out of that. And so we do things differently in that way. It's very structured.
Yes. And
Right.
I know the power of building a community. And so, with you having the small communities within these classes or programs, you can't beat it. You are the ones that the students at the time are going to be the ones that will lift each other up
Yes.
when one falls or one is faltering or not sure if they have the confidence. It's going to be the other ones that will go ahead and lift them up, as you know, in the community. And you you're the fertilizer
Oh, I love that.
to allow this community to grow
Right.
in
It's growing.
beauty.
It's growing, and you see this sisterhood, these bonds, they become lifelong best friends. We call them SD besties
There you
because they're
go.
they just support each other in the industry, and they refer to one another, and they sometimes they partner with one another, and it's all cultivated here in this environment. And I think it's a large part due to the the model that we've set here, but also the people that we hire and the people that we bring on our team. They've got to align with our mission and our vision too. And so we're always looking for great educators. That's another part of
Okay.
we're growing, and we really want people that want to mentor and support and
I
contribute to the growth of the industry.
Yep, well, I bet you have the typical the student becomes the master. That some of them
Oh,
come and you hire
yes.
the ones that
Yes.
you taught.
My daughter is a perfect example of that.
Oh
She
wow.
came through the program at 17 through her senior year in
Oh
high
wow.
school. And now she's the example. She's the alumni, went to the studio, worked the treatment room, then ended up becoming an educator, and now she helps us run our campuses too. So it's
Wow.
just such a cool evolution of what is possible when you are passionate about it.
Right.
And when you come through the funnel of the Beautiful You organization, it's like we are constantly providing opportunity for people. So that's
Right.
something I'm excited about.
So now you say some people don't have an entrepreneurial spirit, which is true. Do you take students that you feel like have that tendency, or are you taking both those and ones that want to work for others?
Both.
Okay.
I think it's really important that even though they want to work for someone, that they develop the entrepreneurial mindset.
Okay.
And that means the characteristics, the traits, the the nuances of how to be an entrepreneur, right? Because even though someone may work for someone, I'm looking to hire people that have the entrepreneurial mindset, that take ownership of their job, that are leaders, that are accountable to their role. And so these are the kind of things that we're teaching is, even though you may not want to go out on your own, we're teaching you how to be a really, really standout employee too, right?
Right.
Because there's that leadership aspect, there's that accountability aspect, and
There's a
just
thinking on their own for the benefit of not only their employer, but their client that's on there.
the empowered esthetician, really it is. And it can go one of two ways. You could become a solo esthetician, or you could become a really, really great employee. And I love seeing both paths because they
Right.
could both be super rewarding and fulfilling. But we do teach business modules, and that's what's really cool about it is, we teach business planning, financial planning, we teach marketing, social media, and all of it. So they're getting a well-rounded education.
Right. So going to ask you a question here. So the
Yeah.
student spa clinics create obviously real world experience with actual clients because we already touched on that. So what's the most surprising business lesson your students discover when facing their first paying client?
Ooh, yeah. I think a lot of them struggle and stumble with communication,
Okay.
right? Like they're comfortable working on friends and family. Like
Okay.
they could do that all day long, but their first actual client that they don't know, they stumble with their approach to how to ask to rebook or how to recommend
Okay.
a retail product or guiding them through the process of what's the next step. And that is something that we spend so much time on is role play and being able to help them work through those discomfort moments of like, oh, like what do I say or what do I do in this? What's the next step to where
Okay.
it's like clock. It's like, okay, you go from treatment to retail, from retail to rebooking, from rebooking to, follow up and follow through. And so we're trying to teach them that that's the full circle of how
Right.
you build a business, right? And so if you stumble and struggle in the communication department, you're going to struggle in this industry. And I'm just straight up with them. I'm like,
Right.
if you can't get your words out and talk and eye contact and body language and you struggle in that department, you're going to struggle in business. And
Right.
want to help them through those struggles. And so that is the biggest aspect of the clinic where, they just have those awkward moments and they're like, what do I do next? Or what? I'm like, it's okay. Like, I'll help you through this. Let's talk through the client together.
Right. So when they get somebody who comes from the community and one of your students, do you have that built in or start to teach them at that point? Like they came in, you took care of them. So do the process that we talked about. I know obviously it depends on where they are in that process. The 4 week how many
Yeah.
4 months you said?
16 weeks.
16
But
weeks. Yeah.
we start serving the public at week 6 of their
Okay.
program. So we are teaching them and doing all the role play and all of the trainings ahead of time to get them really comfortable. But
Okay.
when it comes to that very first person they've never
Right.
seen, they like panic for some reason. Even though they've done mom, dad, sister, friend, right?
Right.
They're, oh my gosh. And so it almost feels like it's a whole new reset of training where us as instructors are walking them through, hey, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. Like, here's the next step. Like, we're walking them through with the client. So we're like, what were their skincare concerns? Oh, aging, wrinkles. Okay, we should probably go to another advanced clinical facial. Let's have them come back and do a new modality that they can
Right.
try that's going to be more of an enhancement to their skin.
Right. And then
Also
you
gives
book
them
them in.
yeah, and so it gets them used to the rebooking process
Perfect.
because without retention,
Right.
you're going to struggle. And so rebooking and retailing is a huge component of our program. The retail aspect is 90% of a success rate for estheticians. So
Okay.
what you do at home matters more than what my 1 hour with me, right?
Of course.
So
Just like a physical therapist. What you
exactly.
do with them is what
Personal
you do, but
stylist, right?
yeah, you have to keep doing it to get the benefit. So,
Benefit
yeah.
result. And so I try to come from that perspective of like, okay, if you were their personal trainer,
Right.
need to do to get to that end result. And we just have to work with them. It's a partnership. And I just don't think other schools are really walking them through that step by step process. So by the end of their program, they're independent. They're just like on it, like rebook, rebook, rebook. And these students have full books by the end of the program. It's
Right.
really cool.
And
Yeah.
I love that you are in the course, in the training, you are giving them real world, not only examples, but they're actually doing it. So it's not, okay, you've got your diploma and you go out now, go ahead. You've already nurtured them where that fear should not be there because they've already done it in class and they did it well because you were helping them.
Yeah, it's that practice, it's that
Yep.
repetition. So when they're out there, you see them marketing. We watch their journeys, we
Yep.
follow them, and they're putting themselves out there and they're making great content and they're just not afraid to be seen. I think we talked about being seen, right? And this industry is so much of being seen
Right.
because people want to know who are they doing business with?
That's in
What
any business
is
is that personal connection. And a lot of times in digital marketing, we lose that. And that was always my focus is how do we make digital personal? Because it's about, and that's what the spotlights are about, is to introduce you and to get them to know you and who you are. And then they're going to want to root for you and then you
Thank
know,
you.
and then do business with you.
I love that. And I love the opportunity. So I'm super grateful to, being a new resident to Colorado Springs community. I'm just so eager to connect with locals and small business owners and entrepreneurs and just anybody in general. I think that I am ready. I'm ready to put myself out there.
Love it.
And thank you for the opportunity to be on here today.
So you've just opened up the Colorado Springs campus around 9 months ago. And so that was 9 months of preparation. Did you open up in 9 months or were you starting?
We were starting. So it's been a year now. We signed our contract on the location a year ago, and that construction process took a lot longer than I had hoped. And it was a delayed start date, and we just kept having to push it out. So we are in our first cohort of
Okay.
our inaugural cohort, started in June.
Okay.
And yeah, it's been great. I'm actually teaching as well. So I'm back in the classroom. I'm leading, I'm teaching, I'm mentoring, and we are open to the public now. We just opened 2 weeks
Okay.
ago to the public. So the clinic hours are Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from about 9:30 till 4. Yeah.
Okay. What's the location?
So we're on the corner of Palmer Park and Union. So
Okay.
yeah, right. Kind of, I guess there's this popular BJ's Velvet Freeze that I'm learning about.
Yes, yes, I know
Yeah.
it.
Yep. And Leon Gessie's Pizza.
Yeah.
So we're right in that building business complex. There's some business complexes within that
Okay.
corner.
So what innovation in this new location reflects where you see the future of aesthetics heading since this is your third location. So you've learned a few things along the way, I'm sure.
Yeah, this location's been great for the main purpose of two classrooms. That was something that I didn't have with the other two campuses. It really limited our opportunity to provide continued education for licensed estheticians, because that's also a big part of our business model. We not only support our alumni post-graduation, but we support all estheticians with continued education
Oh.
post-graduation or just any time that they want to learn a new service or a new advanced modality. So
Is there continuing education requirements in estheticians?
there's hours requirements. So if you want to learn a new modality, say for instance, microneedling right now is really popular, you've got to come and do a state certification. You want to learn chemical peels and chemical exfoliation, you have to come and do a state certification hours requirement with us. And because we're an approved educational facility, we're able to offer this to all licensed estheticians and cosmetologists because they also can do skincare. So this facility allows us the opportunity to offer more CE to serve more people and help them, evolve in their career, along with still creating a space for our fundamentals program.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they can go to beautifulyouskincare.academy.com if they're interested in aesthetics. We have all location drop downs. They can choose the drop-down location that they're interested in. They can fill out a contact form. And if they're interested in a student service, we have a student clinic drop-down where they can book online or they can just give us a call or text us if they want to schedule an appointment. So yeah,
Great.
and of course, social media is always great too.
Right, right. And it's just Beautiful You
Yep, it's
Skincare Academy?
Beautiful You Skincare Academy. We have four accounts on there. We've got the main one, which is BY Skincare Academy, and then we've got a Pueblo Instagram, a Colorado Springs Instagram, and a Littleton. So if they're really focused on what are the start dates for that location and what is going on at that location, they can go to location specific for that information.
Right. And then one of my last questions is Beautiful You offers, I believe, a $1,500 scholarship and maintains a strong community service component through that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this summer we felt with the economic climate and just where people are at in general, we wanted to extend a $1,500 scholarship to anyone that wants to enroll with us. Really, what this does is it helps eliminate the barrier to entry. This is our kit fee. So we're basically waiving the kit fee, which is the books, the products, the digital curriculum so that they could get started. So the only thing that they would need to do is pay the initial registration fee, which is $100 registration fee to get started with us.
Wow, that is very generous.
Yeah, it's just a great start. Not, there's so many people that we've found really want this for themselves, but they just couldn't come up with the down payment to get started. And so we wanted to make that accessible to more people and help them out during these tough times for some people. So yeah, we'll be doing that through the end of the summer and maybe indefinitely. We're just going to kind of see how things
Feel it
progress.
out.
Yeah, and see how people respond to this.
Right.
But for me, I'm really looking into becoming more plugged into the Colorado Springs community and just being involved and giving back in different ways, however I can. I love nonprofits. I'm part of a networking group that we really give back to the community in different ways too. So,
Oh, I
yeah.
love it. Great. So is there anything that we might have missed that you'd like my listeners, viewers, and subscribers to know?
I think we covered a lot
You
today.
did.
So, yeah, I think that, yeah, if the listeners just need a place to have some downtime, just a place for a moment of self-care. Beautiful You Skincare Academy can be that place for you. It doesn't have to feel out of stretch for anyone. Our facials are $25, and a lot of the times we have free model weeks, and so they can kind of keep an eye out for that. And so we just really wanted to serve in a different way to
Wonderful.
like provide accessible skincare to everybody. So yeah, if they feel called to support the school, I would love to meet you. Thank you
I
so
have a
much.
I have a feeling that you are not going to want for models. I just have
I
that
know.
feeling.
I feel like people are like, sign me up. And yeah, totally. Just reach out to me. Please, please reach out your followers. I would love to connect and just give back in any way that I can. So thank you.
I love that. Great. So that's a wrap for our inspiring conversation with Desarae Marhofer of Beautiful You Skincare Academy. If you're interested in pursuing a career in aesthetics or advancing your skincare education or want to be a model and also support the students, visit beautifulyouSkincareAcademy.com to explore their programs in their brand new Colorado Springs campus. And remember, Desiree is offering $1,500 scholarships for students who enroll through September, through the summer. And we never know if she's going to continue it. But if you're thinking about the aesthetics industry, now's the time to at least go and explore the campus and get in touch with Desarae. So, to stay updated on more local business spotlights and everything happening in our vibrant community, subscribe to Colorado Springs Town Tidings at cos.towntidings.com. This is Sandy Zuniga, helping you stay in the know on the go for all things Colorado Springs. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.